Welcome, everyone, to the inaugural first podcast of Strictly Business. John Stanko here with Mike Ritz. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, John. It's new beginning, strictly business. Let's do it.
Yeah, we did this a little bit last year during football season. We had to hang it up because we got too busy. But this is going to be an ongoing thing. We're going to try and do it every week, so I appreciate all you guys tuning in. And let's get right into it. We're going to dive into football this first week, and we got to start with the number one headline that's frankly been dominating all of offseason football, whether you believe it should or not. It's Johnny Manziel and the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation. Mike, what are some of your initial thoughts about Johnny Manziel being drafted by the Browns and now his battle with Brian Hoyer, and Brian Hoyer eventually being named the starting quarterback?
Where do I start? I feel like there's so many layers to the story. I guess first we'll talk about, the Browns drafting him first of all. I mean, it was almost, it's a win-win situation because, let's face it, nobody was going to be talking about the Browns if Johnny Manziel wasn't picked there. They're a bad team to start with. I don't think they would get any headlines without this guy. Maybe that's why they did it. They needed a splash. They needed to get butts in the seats because they know this guy's going to attract the crowd. They knew that it was going to attract media. So I think in that sense, it's almost good for the city of Cleveland before obviously they got the news about LeBron. But I think he's the most talked about figure, and he has certainly caused quite a stir out in Cleveland.
Yeah, I just think it's nuts. You see how popular he is. He led the NFL in jersey sales within a week. Like, that's absolutely nuts for a backup quarterback to lead the NFL in jersey sales. And
I don't know if you saw this. I think it was Darren Rovell on ESPN, who's great. He's probably like one of the best people I follow on Twitter.
Oh, a great Twitter follow for everyone. A great Twitter follow.
He said, I think it was last week, he had a tweet, and it said, number of Browns merchandise with the Manziel name, 32. Number of Browns merchandise that has Hoyer's name on it, 0.
Oh, man. Oh, God.
So that kind of tells you what the Browns are thinking.
Yeah, the big thing is that Brian Hoyer won the starting job in the preseason. Mike Pettin, new head coach, announced that he was going to announce the starting quarterback after the second preseason game, and he announced to Brian Hoyer. But then he kind of retracted a little bit just a day later and said, you know what, a 2QB quarterback system is an option. And my initial reaction was, why are you even thinking about a 2-quarterback system with someone as big and popular as Johnny Manziel? We saw the debacle that was Tim Tebow in the New York Jets when they tried a 2-quarterback system. Why would he even bring this up as a possibility?
That's a great point, Johnny, about him being with the Jets. Yeah, I think I gave him props when they made the decision to go with Hoyer because, honestly, I think they still should have went with Hoyer regardless. If you looked at Johnny, I don't think he's ready yet. He really looked lost at times. He got sacked a lot, and a lot of it, we get it, it's the Browns' offensive line. A lot of it was his own doing, him trying to scramble and run. So I think he just needs time to get acclimated to the speed of the game because I don't think he's ready yet. I think he's still not used to how fast it is right now. But if you look at his stats aren't that bad in the preseason.
No,
he has a 57% completion percentage, and he threw for over 200 yards. He didn't throw an interception, which probably is the most impressive stat. Him getting bombarded and rushed, and he still didn't throw a pick. So, he did show promise, but he really did look lost at times. But Brian Hoyer is the same thing. He did okay in the preseason, but it's a tough choice, not because they're both good, just because they were both so bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the second preseason game, Brian Hoyer gave Johnny Manziel every opportunity to win the starting job, and Manziel didn't capitalize. And then in that second preseason game against Washington, he did the one thing that everyone saw on live television. He flipped the Redskins bench to the bird. He gave them the middle finger. It was caught on live television. And I don't know if you saw his reaction when the Cleveland Browns PR guy told him on the sideline that everyone saw. You just saw Johnny Manziel go, oh, no. He just knew what he was in for. But I want to ask you, do you think him flipping the bird to the Redskins bench had anything to do with Brian Hoyer being named the starting quarterback?
Well, it didn't help. It certainly didn't help him. And the problem is it just feeds into the who don't like him, to the media who was already on him. And now it just added fuel to the fire, and, people were talking about Johnny Manziel for even more reasons than we should. And he just keeps giving us a reason. You see all the pictures on Instagram of him going out, and he's with the girls, and he's drinking, and all these parties that he's going to. And then we know he has a hot streak. He has an attitude, too.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. He does go under fire on the field, too. And he said it in the post-game press conference, and he says, people say stuff to me, and he goes, I need to learn how to manage my feelings when I hear these certain things. Because people are starting to get into Johnny's head a little bit now.
Oh, yeah. But, what bothers me is that this is a preseason game. It's a second NFL game, if you want to call preseason game an NFL game. And Ryan Clark was on Mike and Mike in the morning, and I'm quoting him here on the radio. Ryan Clark said, I can tell you what the statement was that set him off, him being Johnny Manziel. The statement was, this isn't college anymore, and these players are faster than you. And then Clark went on to add on, he didn't like it, and of course that was him cleaning up the statement because I'm sure there was some vulgarity put in there as well. But that's not that harmful of a statement because it's absolutely true. Johnny Manziel did not run a fast 40, and most outside linebackers are faster than him. And the fact that he let a true statement in a preseason game affect him that badly, I think that's absolutely nuts. I think that shows his character, that he can't always hold himself under fire. And guess what? When you're in a playoff game and someone's going to be trashing more talk to you, say Manziel gets to the playoffs ever, and he does something like that, it's going to cost your team 15 yards maybe, and then cost your team the game. I think this had more than just a minimal impact on choosing Brian Hoyer as a starter.
Let's face it. The Browns aren't making the playoffs anytime soon anyway. So, the playoffs could really stop. But it also shows that the quarterback is the face of the team. It's the face of the franchise. 9 times out of 10, it's the quarterback. You are the team's leader. And the last thing anybody needs to see on your team, the coaching staff, is you showing a gesture to basically showing that the other team is getting to you. You know what I mean? You need to be calm, cool, and collected all the time, 24/7. Even when things are going crazy, you got to be the calming influence all the time as a quarterback. And your teammates, I don't even think it's more. I think it's more of a problem with his teammates rather than it being on the coach. Obviously, Pettit is not happy. But I think if I'm a player on the Browns, if I'm a young player on the Browns, or if I'm a veteran on the Browns and you see this, you got to be like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I was listening to Colin Cowherd on ESPN Radio, and someone called in saying, well, other quarterbacks, they get into people's faces and stuff like that. And Colin Cowherd made a great point that, Tom Brady from the Patriots gets in people's faces, but guess what? He's won MVP, he's won 3 Super Bowls, and he's a legendary quarterback. He's earned the right to do it. Johnny Manziel, I'm sorry, you won the Heisman, and that was it. It's not college anymore. You got to earn your place to talk trash in the NFL. And as a rookie quarterback who's not even starting now, I think he kind of showed his arrogance a little bit, trying to trash talk back with his back turned to the bench, not even facing them.
Yeah, the sad part about this is I think it's tough that this is the lead story, that the Browns are the lead story in the preseason, and whether it's Ryan Hoyer, whether it's Johnny Manziel, whether it's John Stanko or Mike Ritz, his team is winning 5 games at most.
You have them winning only 5 games.
Who do they think of? Who does his team have? They don't have Josh Gordon. They have nobody.
They have a good – okay, I'm going to admit their offense is not good. Josh Gordon, I think, is going to be suspended for the whole year or at least 8 games. And their offense is not good, even though they upgraded with Ben Tate at running back. I think their defense is solid. And I want to read you their week 5 through 8 schedule is Tennessee, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Oakland. And then they play Tampa Bay on Sunday, November 2nd after them. They could possibly win all 5 of those games I can see right there. Those are 5 teams that they could beat because Pittsburgh, I don't know if you saw their last preseason game against Philadelphia, they were awful.
Yeah, all right, well, this is going to be a long NFL season, Stanko. 10 minutes into the first show, we're already disagreeing.
All right, well, I want to ask you a question. Over under 6 games started for Johnny Manziel this season.
How many starts?
6. Over under 6.
I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under. Okay.
I'm going to go under because I don't think – first of all, I think Brian Hoyer is going to settle down. Once he starts – I think he'll be a little more relaxed if he is the starter. And you know what? He's been on the team before, and he's actually played an NFL game before other than Johnny Manziel. So I think he'll be more settled down. Also, I think there's something – I really hope it doesn't happen because I want to see him on the field. Some tell me that Johnny Manziel is going to get hurt. So, I mean, that is also a scary thought, too, that Manziel isn't going to be the most durable guy in the NFL. He's going to get hit, and you got to wonder how many hits is it going to take before he's sidelined.
Yeah, you got to wonder if it's going to be like an RG3 and take a lot of big hits every game and eventually go out with injury. You got to wonder if he's going to do something like that. So that's a great point.
Because let's face it, their line isn't very good, so it's going to leave him very vulnerable for a guy who likes to scramble and likes to go outside the pocket.
I will say, though, at least Johnny Manziel knows how to slide, unlike RG3. At least he's got that going for him.
That's true. Or Cam Newton.
Or Cam Newton. This was another great conversation I heard. He was on the NFL Network yesterday. Heath Evans was kind of going in on Manziel because he had a rushing touchdown in the Browns' third preseason game against the Rams, and he did his money sign. He did his classic "show me the money." He did that money sign, and Heath Evans went off saying, "Oh, but this guy's he's ego. He's all about himself. He's doing his own celebration, not congratulating his offensive line, which got him to the end zone." But then I don't remember who else was on the panel with Heath Evans, but he made a great point saying Cam Newton does the same thing when he does his Superman. He does his own quarterback celebration. I just thought that was a great point. I thought that was a great point. Because I think Cam Newton is more mature than Johnny Manziel, but he still does his own quarterback celebration. I just think that's something to look at. It was a great conversation. I hadn't thought about that. It's interesting to me.
On the flip side, Aaron Rodgers does his own thing too, and when he gets in the end zone.
You're right. He does the belt. You're right. I forgot about that one.
So I mean, I think it matters. It definitely differs between teams. I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers, you know you have one of the best arms in the league, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. So I guess you can do that. Even Cam has had a streak of good games, and without him, the Panthers wouldn't really be as good as they have been in the past 2 seasons. But to have a guy come in from college, not even be the starter, and to have all this buzz around him and all these mishaps with the flipping the bird and just a bad play, and to be the second-string quarterback and to still create this attention on you isn't good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really hope Brian Hoyer, he's a hometown Cleveland guy, so I really hope he does well. And I'm interested to see, I think their first 3 games are really going to dictate a lot of their success. They are at Pittsburgh and versus New Orleans and Baltimore. If they can win one of those games, I think they consider that 3-game stretch a win, and then they head into their bye week 4. So I think for Brian Hoyer's sake, he needs to win one of the first 3 games to get people off of his back.
And Stanko, you didn't answer your own questions. You have over or under 6 starts for Johnny Manziel.
Listen, I really think it all depends where they're at week 10 because week 9, because that's after the 5-game stretch I mentioned where I can feel they have a chance to win 5 games. But I think I'm going to go under with you because I think the Browns are a little bit better than you say, and I think they have a chance to not make the playoffs, but make some spoilers and make some noise. So I'm going to go under as well.
Yeah, I think, and even if he gets to 6 starts, it's not going to be meaningful games.
No.
The meaningful games that he's going to that the Browns need is going to be in Brian Hoyer's hands, unless he does something catastrophic. I really think if they really need a win, they're going to go to Brian Hoyer before they go to Johnny Manziel.
I completely agree with you. I would completely agree with you. But speaking of catastrophic, something happened the other day to 2 Steelers players that, I mean, if you look with one of the names of the players, it really couldn't be more perfect for a stand-up comedian or jokes or anywhere. But LeGarrette Blount and starting running back Le'Veon Bell got pulled over for a DUI under the influence of marijuana and high. These are the top 2 running backs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they got pulled over basically under DUI, smoking weed, or they smoked it a while ago. But then they went on to play their preseason game that was against Philadelphia, which the Steelers conveniently played horrible in. Now, Mike, I want to ask you, if you're the Steelers, would you have played LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon Bell in that preseason game?
I mean, that's tough. I think Mike Tomlin had a real tough decision. I mean, these are 2 guys. These 2 guys gave you over 1,500 yards combined last year with 15 touchdowns. So these are your 2 main guys. So for a team that I feel, was the divisional favorites going into the preseason with these two guys. It's definitely a big blow, no pun intended. But
good one.
I will say it's tough because I almost see where Mike Tomlin's coming from, because you don't know what kind of trouble they're in yet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There are no arrests. Like, you don't know what is going to happen. You know what I mean? So I feel like once you kind of get down in the judiciary sense and you see what kind of punishment they have, then you can kind of make your own disciplinary actions. Would I have played them? I definitely would not have played them the first week after. The same week they get pulled over, they play. Now, Mike Tomlin said that he played them more for a punishment. I don't know how you feel about that, but me personally, I wouldn't have played them.
I mean, I don't understand why Mike Tomlin would say that, because these guys love playing football. It's not punishment for them. Go play more minutes in your pastime in the thing you love. Go play more time. Like, I'm sorry, if someone told me to go play wiffle ball outside as punishment, I'd go do it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't think that's punishment at all. Like,
right.
It's one of those things. I don't agree with Mike Tomlin's reasoning at all there.
Yeah, like I said, it's a tough choice, and I mean, if you look at the Steelers' schedule, because you figure, you don't even know with the suspensions now. We have no idea how many games they're going to get suspended. But the first 4 games in the Steelers' schedule versus your Cleveland Browns in Pittsburgh, at the Ravens, which is always a big game. They got to go to Carolina, and then they play Tampa Bay. So, the Browns, Tampa Bay, those can be wins, but you got to play at Baltimore, and you got to go into Carolina and play. So, I mean, that's a big blow if they don't happen the first couple games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. What you said before, I have no idea how long the suspensions are going to last. Like, I don't know anymore. Roger Goodell skewed up my whole thinking on suspensions when he only suspended Ray Rice 2 games. And I don't know what to expect anymore. My guess is going to be that LeGarrette Blount doesn't get suspended and he only gets fined, and Le'Veon Bell gets 2 to 4 games. That's my guess. Well, I have no idea going for. I don't know what to expect.
Their comments after the arrest did not help them either.
No, they did not.
It might have been, was it Le'Veon Bell who came out with that, with the comments, or was it LeGarrette Blount?
I have Le'Veon Bell's quote here. He said, "I didn't know you could get DUI from being high. I smoked 2 hours ago. I'm not high anymore. I am perfectly fine. Why would I be getting high if I were to get on a plane to make it to my game? I have to be on my plane at 3 to be in Philadelphia. I play for the Steelers." That's not a smart thing to say. Maybe I'm doing that. That's just not a smart thing to say.
Homie, I would give him an extra game just for the comment. I would give him an extra game for the comment. Like, if they came out and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was a boneheaded move," because I mean, let's face it, Le'Veon Bell, he's going into his second full year in the NFL. He's still considered a baby. He's our age basically, Stanko. So like he's young. LeGarrette Blount's 27, 28 years old and has been on your prestigious New England Patriots. So he should know a little bit better than to do these types of things. So
the thing is, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but I just remember LeGarrette Blount. I believe he played at Oregon, correct? And he's the one who punched a player at the end of the game.
Yes.
If I'm remembering correctly. And at Tampa Bay, where he got drafted, if I recall, he didn't have a good relationship with the team when they parted ways.
Right.
So you got to think trouble is followed LeGarrette Blount, and face it, the Patriots are good at covering up trouble. Whether it be for good or bad, they're good at covering it up. So, I mean, maybe we just didn't hear about it when he was there. But you got to think LeGarrette Blount's kind of a bad influence everywhere he's been except for the Patriots. So you got to wonder if you're the Steelers, if Le'Veon Bell's your future, do you want to keep him safe? And there are talks to cut LeGarrette Blount. People in Pittsburgh on their radio shows I was reading, they want to cut Blount to get rid of the bad influence.
I mean, they can't do it right now. I mean, you need a solid backup running back, especially for a guy who hasn't really proved himself yet in Bell. Yeah, he had a rookie year last year, and they expect him to have a big season this year. They expect him to be a 1,000-yard rusher this year, but you can't guarantee that right now. A guy who hasn't really proved himself, hasn't played a full year in the NFL yet, and then you got to rely on this guy when you have a kind of, not a seasoned vet, but a veteran enough than LeGarrette Blount who can kind of do the dirty work for him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The only thing I'm hearing is that I've been listening to a fantasy football podcast, and Matthew Berry has really convinced me on this point. If you look at Le'Veon Bell's first season, it compares a lot to Trent Richardson. Not a lot of yards per carry, but got a lot of touchdowns. And you look at Trent Richardson now, he's not that successful of a running back anymore. So I don't know if you want to be a little bit hesitant, but that might just be Matthew Berry looking into stats, and obviously Matthew Berry knows more than I about stats or anything else. But I just thought it was an interesting point that maybe Le'Veon Bell, this would be a season to disprove any doubters that he had, and he's not off to a good start.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mess. But how many games do you think that they're gonna get suspended for, if any?
I think Blunt is not going to get suspended because he wasn't the one driving; he was just a passenger. I don't think he's getting suspended. I think he'll get a nice fine. But I think Le'Veon Bell is probably going to get, I'd say, at least 2 games, possibly 4. I think the comments he said after might have something to do with it. If he tries to appeal, I think the NFL is going to say, well, look at your comments after. You don't feel sorry for it. Why are we going to accept your appeal? So I think that I'm going to say 2 games. I'm going to say 2 games for Bell. And that would be my estimate, but I wouldn't be surprised with 4.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be either 2 or 4. And, yeah, you raised a good point about Blunt because he didn't drive, yet he was still in possession. And, I mean, that's wrong place, wrong time. So I feel like they'll fine him, but he might get a game too, just to be in the car with them. Granted, he didn't drive, but also he was the one who, I mean, he could have stopped it too. You know, like I said, him being the older veteran could have known that this wasn't something that they should be doing. The 2 best running backs on the team ended up getting in trouble, and now not only do they hurt themselves, but they kill the team early in the season if they get suspended.
Oh, yeah, if they both get suspended that first week against the Browns, I'm really interested to see what the line would be. Steelers without their top 2 running backs going up against a good defense, and their offense hasn't looked that great so far. I'd be really interested to see what the line would be in that game.
That final would be like 9-6.
Yeah, no touchdowns, all field goals.
But I do want to ask you this, Johnny. Going back just to the preseason, how much of the preseason can you really gauge into how your team is going to do throughout the regular season? Because there's so much, like, the starters don't necessarily play too much. Rather than week 3, they get most of their time. They might get a half, and that's considered a lot of time. But a lot of it's just they run a set or 2, they have a couple series, and then that's it. So how much can you really gauge?
It's a tough question. For me, it depends on the team. I think if you're a good team, like the Patriots or the Saints or the Denver Broncos, I don't think preseason means that much. I think if you know you have a good squad that's going to compete, preseason doesn't really matter. But for a team, I'd say like the Tennessee Titans, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the Cleveland Browns, I think it's a good gauge as to what to expect a little bit because your team hasn't had a lot of success lately, and your starters, they're going to need to prove themselves because, frankly, you're going to have roster spots that are open for a lot of competition more so than already established teams. So I'd say if you're an upper echelon team, preseason record, and it doesn't really matter at all. But if you're a team that's in the bottom half, I think it matters some. You also want to instill some confidence in your fans that you're going to be somewhat okay because it might affect their ticket sales or something. But I think if you're on the bottom third, I'd say it matters. And fans think it matters because they're watching games even though it's preseason. So that's my opinion. If you're a good team, it doesn't matter. If you're a bad team, I think you got to look into it. Or if you're a team that's rebuilding or reshaping itself like your New York Giants, who we'll get into, I think it also matters.
Oh, God. I was hoping you didn't mention them. But, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. If you're a team that, you know, is a playoff team, I feel like that they don't even take not that they don't take preseason seriously, but they kind of just do it in stride just to kind of get it over with. The starting spots, for the most part, are decided. You know who your quarterback is, you know who your running back is, the wide receivers. I think that, like you said, with well-established teams, you don't necessarily need 4 games to figure it out. But for teams, I think it's, like, bad teams know they're bad. Like, they know. But it's for middle-of-the-pack teams to kind of figure it out, to kind of find their identity if they can in those couple games. Like, who's going to be that receiver that's going to be a good slot guy, or you know what, or this quarterback's playing better than expected, which we'll get into. So yeah, I think it's for those middle of the pack teams that really get a lot out of They really get a lot out of the preseason, despite I think it's way too long.
Yeah, I
want
agree.
the regular season to start, but I think those middle of the pack teams, they definitely benefit from it.
Yeah, we're agreed there. I think preseason should be 3 games. I think the 4th game means absolutely nothing because the starters aren't going to play at all. It's just another rest week for them. I think you got to make preseason 3 games long.
Or if you play in the Hall of Fame game like the Giants and the Bills do, you have 5 preseason games.
Yeah, I mean, it's more chance for injury for them. I think preseason should be 3. But we agree that the middle of the road teams definitely they have the most to gain from preseason in terms of it mattering.
Yeah, without a doubt. 5 is ridiculous. That shouldn't be. I wouldn't even want to play in the Hall of Fame game. It'd be too much of a mess. I mean, the Giants clearly they need as much help as they can get. But I'm just saying, for 5 games without even having a regular season game first, if I'm a coach, I would hate it.
Yeah, and that first preseason Hall of Fame game, your playbook is probably really up to 8 long because what are you going to put in there that you only had training camp for a couple weeks or so? What are you going to put in there that could possibly matter?
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
All right, well, it's time to move on to what's going to be probably a weekly segment or close to it. We're going to introduce the Buds of the Week. We're going to try and do this podcast weekly, and both Ritz and I are going to pick who we believe who really embarrassed themselves or who just was stupid the week before and who are the Buds of the Week. So, Ritz, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. And we already touched on 2 of the knuckleheads, our Le'Veon Bell and Garrett Blount. Those are my Buds of the Week. You're the starting running back and the backup running back, which they were going to platoon. Like that's just because one's a starter and one's not doesn't mean that they're both going to get solid touches. So they're 2 quality guys, quality running backs that the Steelers definitely need. And like I said, they were my divisional favorite. They still might be because I think it's kind of weak right now in that division. But you can't be doing this stupid kind of stuff in the preseason and risk of getting suspended, especially the fact where you have no idea how many games you're going to get suspended. The way these suspensions have been given out, you don't know how much you're going to sit. And the last thing these guys want to do is sit come the regular season where these games matter. So my Buds of the Week are Le'Veon Bell and Garrett Blount for just getting pulled over and getting a DUI.
Yeah. When we talked yesterday, I said that my Dud of the Week was going to be Johnny Manziel, but I'm actually going to switch it up on you.
Okay.
My Dud of the Week is RG3 from the Washington Redskins.
Okay, why is that?
I don't know if you saw him go on Twitter after his preseason game and say, they doubted me in high school, they doubted me in college, let them doubt me now, I'll prove them wrong. I'm paraphrasing there the tweet he said. But RG3, I never liked him as a character person when he got into the league. He drove out Mike Shanahan. He tried to return to it early last year. And for me, if you go out on Twitter, when no one said they're doubting you or they really called you out, I think he went looking for doubters in order to say this comment that he tweeted. I think it's absolutely nuts for him to do. I think he's an attention whore. And listen, when you fly, people are going to talk about it because you're going to get banged up. You come out every game limping. Every single game you see him limp at least once because he doesn't get down, he doesn't run out of bounds like a Russell Wilson or like an Andrew Luck. He doesn't avoid the hits. I think he's my Dud of the Week because I think he went looking for the doubters in order to send that tweet. And I don't know why you sent that tweet in the first place because you showed enough self-confidence being an NFL starting quarterback to shut the doubters down without having to speak to them. Let your play before you. Don't let a 140-character tweet do it. So that's why he is my Dud of the Week.
Yeah, touching on that, it's going to be a big year for RG3 because if he has another bad year like he did last year, I don't know what Jay Gruden's going to do. What do you do with this guy if he comes up? What if he gets hurt again? God forbid. I mean, I'm a Giants fan, but I don't want to see him completely shredded knee again. But you're right. He always is limping. I never feel like he's 100%.
Exactly.
It's a tough spot because this is your guy. This is your go-to guy, and he's not reliable right now. And it's Washington can't get any better if this guy keeps playing 60% healthy. And I feel like every week, Washington is going to have their best game the first few weeks of the season just because that's going to be when RG3 is the most healthy. weeks 5, week 6, week 7, when it's going into the middle of that season, the more hits RG3 takes and the less healthy he's going to get, the worse the Redskins are going to do. And frankly, they're not that good of a team to begin with. They need Alfred Morris to kind of carry them. But other than that, if RG3 isn't healthy, Washington's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you this right now. Kirk Cousins has looked better in every single preseason game for the Redskins thus far. He has impressed me more than RG3. And Kirk Cousins has played well when he's gotten the chance to play in the NFL. So I'm going to tell you right now, if RG3 goes down with injury, because I guarantee he's going to miss at least a game because he's going to get banged up, and Kirk Cousins plays well, there's going to be people questioning in Washington what to do with RG3. Because he can't have a quarterback who's going to might be limited to 12 games a year because of injury, like Michael Vick was with Atlanta, and that's why he got hurt. And that's why he lost the starting job in Philadelphia, because he got hurt. RG3 is fragile. I'm going to tell you right now, watch out, because if he gets hurt, there's going to be many more doubters than there are now.
Yeah, definitely. Kirk Cousins is. I don't think Kirk Cousins had a bad game. He won them games last year in the regular season.
He did. He did.
He's come in and proven himself, and he's obviously trying to stay out of this media craze, and luckily it hasn't gotten to him yet with this whole thing with RG3. But he's coming in, he's keeping his mouth shut, and when his time comes, he comes in and he's playing well. And like I said, yeah, he's come in the regular season, and he's proved that the limelight's not too big on him. He's come in when they're down in the fourth quarter and they come from behind and they've won. And I don't want to see them win any games, but I remember last year that Kirk Cousins come in and has done the job for you. So it will raise questions. If RG3 gets hurt, the question raises, is a healthy Kirk Cousins better for the Redskins than a 60% healthy RG3?
I'll answer that question for you right now. I believe so.
Yeah, because let's face it, if RG3 isn't 100% healthy, he's not going to run, and that means he's only half as effective as he would be if he was healthy. You know, he's so deadly when he's healthy, and he can run, and, you know, he'll become a one-dimensional quarterback. You know what he's going to do on the snap, and it makes him less lethal than he was when he was healthy.
I completely agree with you. But let's move on to another NFC East team. So those were our duds of the week to recap. Your duds, the Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell and Garrett Blunt for their obvious DUI, smoking weed, getting caught. Mine being RG3. And RG3, their division foe, the Redskins that is the New York Giants. And we mentioned before we were going to get to them, and you are a Giants fan. And you've seen the Giants play 4 preseason games, but they've won all 4 preseason games. They're 4-0 in the preseason. I don't know if preseason matters to you, but they're 4-0. But they have not looked that good in their wins. Mike, Ritz, why do the Giants seem to look so bad?
Where do I start? All right. Well, yeah, obviously the record means nothing, because the reason why we've been 4-0 is because, just on a side note, Ryan Nassib has been really, really good in the preseason.
He has been.
5 touchdowns, no picks, over 400 yards that he's thrown, over a 60% completion percentage. But, I mean, we'll get to that later. But strictly starting the starters for the Giants, they've just been so bad. Granted, it's a whole new offense that they had to get accustomed to. And obviously it's going to be a transition, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. All these talks that the offensive line was going to get a little bit better for us. I mean, Chris Snead definitely retiring didn't help, but the offensive line still isn't giving Eli any time, so it makes him to have a quick decision, and we don't have as many receivers as we need right now. I mean, Victor Cruz had one of the worst, his worst season of his career last year. He only had 4 touchdowns in last season, and 3 of them were in the first week. So he needs, obviously, I think the pressure's on him to kind of get the ball, but Eli has to get him the ball. But in this new offense, apparently we're going to have a couple more opportunities for slots. So Victor Cruz he's supposed to have a big year, but the biggest thing for me, the only positive I can take out of this is Rashad Jennings. I didn't think Rashad Jennings was going to have as big of an impact as he's had so far, and he's going to be our starting running back. And having Rashad Jennings is going to be good, because Eli can't throw the ball every time. Clearly.
And Andre Williams, your backup running back, has played pretty well too.
Your Boston College boy, he has been playing.
I think your running game has been all right, but I mean, you mentioned Eli Manning. He's coming off his worst statistical season since his rookie year. He led the NFL in interceptions with 27 last year.
Yeah.
And he only had 18 touchdowns. I mean, you look at, and you mentioned the offensive line. You guys might have lost another offensive lineman, Jeff Schwartz, who kind of had a major injury with a dislocated toe, and he might be out for the year. He's going to see a foot specialist. So that's more offensive line problems for you.
It's certainly not good, and this is, in my opinion, this is the biggest year for Eli Manning right now, because if he has another bad year, everyone's going to talk about it, and he needs a solid year this year. Not even to completely throw Drew Brees numbers, you know. He just needs to keep the interceptions down and just try to manage the game a little bit better, because he didn't do a good job that last year.
No, listen, Eli Manning, he's high risk, high reward. Being a Patriots fan, I've experienced, and you've experienced as a Giants fan, when he plays really well, he can do it in the playoffs. He's a very, very good quarterback. But he also has those moments where it's Eli, what are you doing throwing the ball in that direction? The Brett Favre factor where he just throws it up and then throws a pick. I'm really curious to see what they do. I want to ask you, over under 7 wins for the New York Giants in 2014-2015.
I think 7's the number, Stanko. I think 7 is the number.
You're pushing me. I picked 7 because that's what I was going to pick. I was going to see if you were going to go higher or lower.
I think 7 is the number, to be completely honest with you. I think they are a third-place team in the division. I think it's the Eagles to lose. And I think with the Redskins being as much of a mess as they are, they might have 6 or 7 wins. They might be with us. But I probably have the Eagles looking at like a 10-6 season so far. The Cowboys probably go 8-8, and right now I have us at 7 wins. All this might change, because who knows when it comes to regular season, but right now I think the Giants are only a 7-win team.
Yeah, I also want to ask you, we're going to get into later coaches on the hot seat, and we have 5 listed. Tom Coughlin is not one of the ones we have listed for later in the show, but I think he has a little bit of fire under his seat with the Giants. I want to ask you, what needs to happen for him to keep his job as the head coach?
Well, if you made the playoffs this year, obviously he would still be back. But he's getting up there too. I mean, his extension, it's not like it's a long extension, you know. It's just into next year. So if he got fired, it really wouldn't be that huge of a deal, because you know he's been on his way out. You know what I mean? He's proven himself as a coach, so I don't think it's been bad blood. Maybe he just kind of overstayed his welcome a little bit. So I think for me, I don't hate Tom Coughlin. He did what he needed to do. He's in New York, so he has a couple bad seasons in a row. That's kind of what happened. So, but it's gonna be the way. It's gonna be the way we lose. If we lose bad games, if we get blown out, kind of like how we did last year. Just the types of losses, if you know what I mean, Stanko. I think that's kind of how it's going to be. And,
okay.
And I think it's going to be tough, because I still think it's a transition. It's a transition year for the Giants. I mean, you have a new offense, you have new running backs. Odell Beckham Jr., our draft pick, is struggling to stay on the field. So I mean, I think it's a tough situation for the Giants, because they're trying to put it all together before week 1, where we still have a lot of questions, and they're not going to be answered until the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I want to ask you also, being a Giants fan, how much are you willing to give them in sort of transition time into the regular season? Like, they're obviously not ready yet, but at one point of the regular season, you need to be like, all right, this offense needs to be clicking now. At what point in the regular season do you get to that point?
I would say by week 3 or 4, if I don't see any improvement, that's cause for concern. Because unfortunately this isn't the MLB, so these games matter from day 1. You don't have 162 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you gotta week 1 is as important as week 14. So you can't be throwing out these games and expect to get them back later on, because it's football. You never know what's going to happen. So by week 3, if you don't see too much change, I'm gonna be worried. But like I said, I don't have that high expectation of the Giants this year so far. I really only have them as a 7-win team.
All right, well, the first 3 games for the Giants are at Detroit versus Arizona and then versus Houston. So hopefully for your sake as a Giants fan, you'll see some growth during those first 3 games and get a couple wins to get some confidence.
Yeah, in a perfect world, if they go 2-1 in those games, I'm a happy camper. But that opener against Detroit is going to be really, really tough.
Yeah, Detroit is a very good offensive team, and they're going to score some points. They're going to need to keep up with them.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Crossing my fingers on my Giants.
All right, well, moving on, we're going to get to another. It's going to be an annual segment. We're heading to Ritz's Ramble. It's where Mike Ritz has a chance to vent his frustrations on whatever topic he seems fitting. This is going to be very similar to Scott Van Pelt's One Big Thing. So, Mike Ritz, I'm giving you the floor.
Thanks, Johnny. I guess for the inaugural Ritz's Ramble, I'm going to touch kind of on a touchy topic, so I'm going to try to phrase this as best as I can. We're going to start with the Jets' backup quarterback, Michael Vick. Now, I was sitting and watching TV last week, and there was a segment on a show that I'm not going to say, and it was, has Michael Vick done enough to repair his image? Mm-hmm. So I guess some of you listening could be like, that's a valuable question to ask, because this guy has obviously done wrong in his life, and now he's just trying to get back onto the field, and what has he done? Now, I guess my thing is, look, this guy has done a lot of wrong, and unfortunately, he was trouble before the obvious dogfighting incident happened. I guess my argument would be, first of all, dogfighting. I am not saying dogfighting is right, but I'm saying down south, it's not as crazy to hear people in dogfighting as it is up north. Mm-hmm. But my point is, he did his time. He got caught. Should he have done it? No. Is it bad and terrible and you should never do it? Yes. He served time. He did his 2 years, and now he's back. I think the problem that a lot of people have with Mike Vick is he served time in jail, and now he's back on the field making millions. And I think that's the problem. But my point is, what else does this guy need to do for people to kind of get off him a little bit? Like, he's on parole. He's doing everything he's needed to be doing. He did charity work. He got death threats when he got out of jail. He was getting death threats for doing the charity work that he's been trying to do. So my point is, with all these other guys, with the Ray Rice situation, he's domestic violence issues, all these countless guys getting arrested, I'm going to mention a guy who I think people have forgotten about, is Dante Stallworth, who aggravated manslaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy he was driving drunk, and he hit somebody and killed another person. And I think the problem that I have is that, first of all, Dante Stallworth served 24 days in jail. Mike Vick didn't kill a single person and had to serve 2 years. So I think I'm trying to wrap my mind around that we are coming down on Mike Vick and not coming down on Dante Stallworth. Dante Stallworth he was suspended for a year, but then got back on a team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I find it completely just a flawed system that everyone's worried about what Michael Vick is doing when all these other guys around Michael Vick are doing bad things currently. Mike Vick did everything he needed to do. Yes, it was bad. Yes, he served his time. He's getting back, and he keeps getting bombarded with these questions about his image and everything. Just let the guy be. I mean, all these, like I said, Dante Stallworth, he killed somebody. You have these guys these people that judge, and the problem that I have is that we treat, I guess, pets. We have them in a higher regard more than we have for human beings. Like, you see where I'm coming, Stanko? I find it hard to fathom the hatred for Michael Vick. Not before, like, yes, right when it happened, I still don't like the guy personally. for obviously what he did, but to kind of keep asking him, it's been too many years to kind of keep on Michael Vick for his past issues. And like I said, he's done charity work. He's been doing everything he's been needing to do. He's been doing speeches to schools, and he's kind of been doing what needs to happen to retool his image. So my biggest problem is people still getting on Michael Vick. It's over, okay? You have all these guys in the NFL that are getting arrested, and no one's really talking about it. People are still on the fact that Michael Vick is still in the NFL, and people have a problem with it.
Yeah, listen, I can't agree with you more. I'll say it right up front. I'm not a huge pet guy, so personally, I think I completely agree with you that we held animals a little bit in too high regard. I mean, Ray Rice beat his wife, knocked her out, and only got a 2-game suspension. You mentioned Dante Stallworth. That's a great example. People don't know who he is. And granted, Michael Vick was a much more higher profile guy than Dante Stallworth, but Dante Stallworth still killed a man. Or a woman, I don't know, but he killed a person. So I completely agree with you. I agree with you. Get off his back. He's a backup quarterback now. He doesn't deserve any of the attention. And he's not been any trouble since returning. He has not done one thing to really have people go back on him and create more negative feedback than he already has.
I'll go one further for you, Stanko. People forget that Ray Lewis was wrapped up in a murder case years ago in his career, and it's like nothing happened. So it's kind of like, where did that go? You know what I mean? Like, yes, obviously the past is the past, but I feel like nobody ever really talked about what happened with Ray Lewis. Like, he got caught up with his friends. Somebody got murdered. He got arrested. All of a sudden, he kind of dimed his friends out. His friends got arrested, and he didn't, and then he was still on the football field. So there's obviously a problem with that too. So there's a lot of, and Ray Lewis is probably one of the most respected players in the football in this era.
And now he's working for ESPN.
He's seen as an ambassador to the game, and I guess somewhere down the line people forgot that he got wrapped up too, and nobody has ever mentioned it. Even when they were in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, no one mentioned it once. And it's just like, I just don't know why people are so infatuated with Michael Vick. Like, I get it. He did wrong. It wasn't, he did something he wasn't supposed to be doing. It was illegal. He served his time, and now just let him be years and years. And people are still wasting quality television time talking about if Michael Vick repaired his image or not. Just get off the guy's back.
I agree with you completely. And you know what? That's a great inaugural Rich's Ramble. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Moving forward, let's get to our fourth general topic, and I think this is a pretty good one. We came up with 5 coaches that are on the hot seat heading into this season. And we got 5 names listed that we think are under the most pressure. And I think for me, I'm going to start off with the Miami Dolphins, Ryan Philbin. The Dolphins are seemingly stuck in a 500 rut. I think it's key to note that the Dolphins are under a new general manager, so I think Philbin has to make an impression this year. And to tell you what, I think Philbin's gone this year if the Miami Dolphins don't make the playoffs. That's how much pressure I think he's under.
Yeah, and the Miami Dolphins job is a tough job to have because obviously been a tough division for years because your New England Patriots have been such a tough team to get over that hump. You know, every year the Patriots are going to be there for the division, and it's not getting any easier with the Bill. The Patriots are kind of declining. They're more declining than they are improving, and you can agree with me on that thing.
I agree 100% on that. Yep.
But the Bills are getting better. The Bills are getting better, and the Jets are going to be there. Their defense is good enough to at least worry about it when they're on the schedule. So Dolphins' job is tough, and I agree with you. I think Philbin, if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think it's simple enough. They're going to get rid of them.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
This obviously the incident last year with
Richie Incognito
with Incognito and the bullying. I mean, that was rough, and people were saying that he was going to get fired after this past season. So he's definitely on the hot seat. I agree with you, Johnny. But
Yeah.
the guy who I have, one of the guys who I have, and I think it's a really interesting story, is Mike Smith in Atlanta. This is a guy who seemed to have everything figured out, and he had Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan had this record in the Dome. It was they weren't losing any home games. They were making it to the playoffs. They were set. He was the coach when Mike Vick was on the Falcons, correct?
Yes, he was.
So he's been there and he's proven himself. And then all of a sudden last year, something happened where they just lost every game. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. I feel like if Mike Smith doesn't fix this quick, I think he's kind of overstayed his welcome in Atlanta.
I think so as well. The Falcons went 4-12 last year, and granted, injuries had a lot to do with why they struggled. Julio Jones was out for the year after an early season injury, and that obviously affected them. But, I mean, reading articles on him, I think a great thing I found out, Mike Smith is only 1-4 in the playoffs. He's only 1-4, and he's had talented teams, and he hasn't been able to get past that first round. And I think it's very interesting to point that out. I mean, for me, I've always seen him as a play-it-safe kind of coach. I don't see him taking big risks, kind of like a Les Miles would do at LSU, like taking big risks, big chances. Granted, Les Miles is college, and it's a different element. But I think he's kind of too play-it-safe for me, so I agree with you. Unless they do well this season, say maybe get double-digit wins, I think, and make the playoffs, I think that he's in trouble.
Yeah, it's tough. Who else you got for us, Stanko?
I mean, I'm gonna stick in the AFC East. Rex Ryan of the New York Jets. We seemingly talk about him every year that he's on the hot seat. And I think this year you have to talk about him. You have to talk about it again. The first 2 years he brought the Jets to the AFC Championship game. But Rex Ryan, after that, is only 22-26, a career record with the Jets following his first 2 seasons. And I think the fact that he's solely a defensive-minded coach has really hurt him. So I want to get your take on that and Rex Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Rex every year, and I don't think the Jets really helped themselves last year because we were having this conversation last year about Rex, and he kind of did what he needed to do. They ended up going 8-8, and it was announced that he was going to stay on, but they didn't give him a contract extension. They just gave him another year. So what it did was just to prolong their decision on whether they were going to keep him long term or not, which doesn't help anything. It's going to be the same circus every game as it was last year. If they lose a game, they're going to be like, oh, should we get rid of Rex? It's not. This isn't helping the Jets at all. Having either sign the guy long term or get rid of him. I don't think this kind of lingering is helpful for the Jets because, I mean, I hate to say it because I really don't like the guy, but players like to play for this guy.
Oh, so, they love playing for him, yeah.
There's something about Rex that want players to come to the Jets, so I think that's why they're keeping him. But if he, misses the playoffs again, and they win 7 games, which is really possible, it's going to be hard to kind of back up Rex Ryan because he really has nothing to show for it recently.
Yeah, I mean, when Rex Ryan's time at the Jets, I don't think their offense I would consider ever as dangerous. Mark Sanchez, when they made the AFC Championship games, did his job. He didn't turn the ball over, and he did well. But you saw him decline as his career went with the Jets, and now he's playing pretty well for the Eagles in the preseason. You saw the Tim Tebow fiasco with New York. The offense was not clicking there at all, and you saw Geno Smith last year still flashes of being a good quality starting quarterback. But again, I wouldn't consider their offense last year as high class. Now, granted, this year they bring in Eric Decker, they bring in Chris Johnson. So they have weapons now for Geno Smith. So I think there's a chance for the Jets to make noise and possibly make a wild card run. But I think unless the Jets make the playoffs, as it seems with every on-the-seat coach, I don't think Rex Ryan's back.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It really is. And like I said, in this New York market, it's a what have you done for me lately kind of business. And Rex, he's really banking on these 2 AFC championships because we haven't seen much from him since.
Yep.
But for me now, I mean, my next guy is just another guy who's been in the headlines and to a team that really can't stay out of the headlines because their owner is Jason Garrett of the Cowboys. This is another guy who every year you feel like is this dude going to be the coach? I mean,
yeah.
And I think the problem is because they really should have won the division last year. There's no doubt in my mind that it should have been the Cowboys, not the Eagles. But I think that's the problem. It's not like, it's Miami in Philbin, because they have the Patriots. So Philbin can say, look, we can be as good as we want, but the Patriots are on a whole other level. With the Cowboys, they're right there. There's no dominant team in that division. That division's up for grabs, has been up for grabs the past 3 seasons. There hasn't been a dominant squad. And nobody was really talking about the Eagles last year, and they kind of just won it because it wasn't that they were just good. It's because they weren't as bad as the way the Giants are playing, or the Cowboys, or the Redskins. So this is another year that this division is up for grabs, and I really think it's either going to be between the Cowboys or the Eagles again. And and I think the Eagles are better than they were last year, so I think it's the Eagles to lose. And if Jason Garrett can't get to the playoffs, it's going to be tough, because they're still trying to break. They only have 1 playoff win, 1996, and I'm sure Jerry Jones hates when that stat gets brought up, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Since 2010, when Jason Garrett took over, he is 29-27 in 4 years with the Dallas Cowboys. He took over after Wade Phillips, who was fired after 4 years after going 34-22 and winning a playoff game. They fired Wade Phillips for that, yet Jason Garrett is still there. I don't know how that adds up.
Yeah, it's wacky in Dallas. It really is wacky in Dallas, and I really think Jason Garrett really might be on the outs. And if I'm a coach, you really got to be a certain type of person to want to coach in Dallas, because it's just, you have this owner breathing down your neck 24/7, and he's kind of a firecracker and just wants to do things for the splash in the media. And I think Jason Garrett's kind of going to feel that at the end of the season this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons why I think Jason Garrett gave him another year was because last year the defense was awful. And Jason Garrett got rid of Rob Ryan before the start of last season, so they didn't have Rob Ryan last year. Defense was terrible. I think Jason Garrett kind of acknowledged, like, hey, I made a mistake firing a good defensive coordinator, because look what he did with New Orleans last year. They became a good defense. So now I think there's no excuses this year for Jason Garrett. It's playoffs or bust, and I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't even see them coming close, frankly. I have them maybe winning 6 games. I don't have them competing for the division, unlike you.
Really?
Yeah, I think their defense might be one of the 5 worst in the NFL.
Let's hope so. Let's hope, Stanko.
Yeah, so there we go. And our 5th coach who's on the hot seat, it's a team that always has a coach on the hot seat recently, the Oakland Raiders and Dennis Allen. There's nothing much more to say here. For me, his seat is the hottest, if you will. He's 8-24 in 2 seasons at Oakland, with identical 4-12 records each year. Frankly, I'm surprised he wasn't fired after last year, but he's back this year with a new quarterback in Matt Schaub. I think this was fairly straightforward. You got to win to stay there, and unless he wins maybe 7 games or 6, or improves the record at least marginally, I think he's getting the boot. Might be when the regular season's over.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like a black hole. It really is. Just when you go to the Raiders, something happens, and they really are in a funk. And if you go there, they don't have the players, so it's tough. Yes, they have Matt Schaub, but he just recently got hurt in the past day or so. And
did he? I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how severe it is, but I mean, just to think, yeah, he has a sore elbow. I mean, hopefully it's not anything bad, but that's kind of what it is. It's just there's something wrong with his elbow. But but there's also, this is a team that got Maurice Jones-Drew, correct? So maybe it might be at least it might be a fresh person to come in to kind of platoon with Darren McFadden, who has talent. He has talent, Darren McFadden. He proved to be one of the better running backs in the league, but he just can't stay healthy.
Yep. Now I have a trivia question for you. Name as many wide receivers on the Oakland Raiders as you possibly can.
Wide receivers on the Raiders. I mean, I think James Jones. Isn't James Jones a wide receiver now for the
James
for the
Jones?
Raiders?
Yep, that's one.
The only other guy who I can say is Greg Little.
Greg Little, yes, he is a second one. You got 2.
That's all I got.
You got 2. I mean, I think other names that you'll recognize, Denarius Moore, and Ron Streeter.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I got two.
I mean, there's others on the depth chart, but I don't recognize any of their names. I recognize the four names that we mentioned. So I think their offense is going to be it might be improved with MJD to put on the goal line, and maybe Matt Schaub, the quarterback, will give them a little bit more. But I still think that they're going to be in for a really rough season. Granted, last year they played a lot of close games. Like they competed a lot. They lost a lot of close games, but they still lost. It doesn't go into the win column. So I think that talent is gone.
But I guess that's the thing, that if I'm Dennis Allen, that's what I try to sell. I mean, because the Raiders have been messed up for so long that it's not going to get fixed overnight. So if I'm Dennis Allen, I can say, look, I understand that we lost. And if they have almost the same type of season, maybe slightly better this year, you can say, look, we lost close games last year because we didn't have the talent, but I still made the team right there. And then we got back. We got some better players this year, and we had 2 more wins than last year. So at least you can show at least some type of progress, because the Raiders have been so bad. It's almost like, what do you want this guy to do? Because they've been so messed up for so long that there's only so much you can do in a couple years, and they do this circle of coaches that they do every 2 or 3 years. They get a new coach, and you need a guy that you trust that you can have for 5 years. Unfortunately, that's kind of what you need to do, because you really show if there's going to be much progress. But if you keep getting these new coaches who try to input their own philosophies in these guys, you're always going to be in the transition. So I feel like the Raiders is such a tough job, because you don't have the players, and fans don't have the patience, and neither do the owners.
Yeah, I think that right now the nickname for the Raiders is the Black Hole, and you said it earlier, that whoever goes there gets sucked into despair, and success does not follow them. So they need a savior of some sort, and I don't know who that could be.
Yeah, it's tough out there. It is tough out there in Oakland.
All right, well, let's go to our final portion of the Strictly Business podcast. We're heading to what's going to be our weekly power ranking segment, where we're just going to rank our top 5 in whatever category we feel like that day. And today's category is our top 5 preseason surprises. These surprises can be good or bad, and we have 5 separate ones between Ritz and I, so a lot of discussion to happen here. Ritz, I'll open up the floor. My 5th surprise, if you will, is around Ritz's ramble. It's around Michael Vick. And my surprise is, how come he hasn't been more competitive about trying to get the starting job with the New York Jets? This preseason, Michael Vick is 12 of 20 for 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8 rushes for 40 yards. But he was quoted as saying this recently: "I'm at a very good place, very relaxed. Things are more laid back now as far as football and off the field. No stress, no pressure. Even though when you play football, there's always some sort of pressure. But at this stage in my career, I'm just trying to refresh and regroup and see where it takes me." Where is the competitive fire? Michael Vick, who was the starter last year for the Philadelphia Eagles, and now he's residing and happy as a backup. Why is that? That surprises me. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's good that he's it's good in the sense that he's laying low, but also I think the Jets really wanted to give Geno Smith a fair shot. And to give him a fair shot, this is what they need to do. They needed to show Geno, look, we have this guy, Michael Vick, who is a name who has shown in the past that he could be one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but we are still picking you over this guy. So you are getting the first play snaps. He's going to sit on the bench, and he's going to be watching you. So I think as much as you want to say, oh, Michael Vick doesn't want it, of course Michael Vick wants it. But I also think it's a combination of both. Maybe Mike Vick is getting a little timid maybe because he hasn't played. Maybe he's afraid to get hurt. But I also think it's more of the Jets confiding their confidence into Geno Smith and actually giving him a fair shot into, look, you're going to be the starting quarterback unless we need to make a change.
Well, then why did Michael Vick go to the New York Jets? Why? When he had a chance to start at another team that doesn't have a quarterback that they're looking for. Why go to the New York Jets? I don't understand why you lose that competitive spirit to play every single week. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do agree. It is a tough. It's a much. I think the surprise is it's not as big of a story as we thought it was going to be.
Yes.
The Jets, another quarterback controversy. It's going to be another story. It's going to be another Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith type of battle like we had last year. But this year, it's just, you know what? Geno's their guy. Mike Vick is kind of staying out of the limelight, and Geno's just trying to do his own thing.
Yeah, I guess that just confusing me that there's no controversy with the Jets. I guess that's just
I mean, it is very early on in the season, so I'm sure they're going to think of something to get in the headline.
There you go.
For me, honestly, as a Giants fan, I had to go with some Giants for my surprises. I was really pleasantly surprised with Ryan Nassib. Like I said before, the dude was really, really good in the preseason. He had 5 touchdowns, no picks. He had over 60% completion percentage, over 400 yards passing. Stanko, that's fantastic. As a backup quarterback, he's just coming in and he's the reason why we've been winning these preseason games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to say Rashad Jennings has been another surprise because I didn't think he was going to be as reliable as a running back as he's been. So I guess those are my 2 right there are Ryan Nassib and Rashad Jennings. In the first preseason game, he had 67 yards of Rashad Jennings, and then he had a 73-yard run, a nice burst of speed in week 2. So he's proved that, you know what, he can be the every down back for the Giants, and the Giants are going to need, like we said before, the Giants are going to need a good, steady running game to kind of open up that new offense, new passing game that they're gonna have.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to piggyback off of you because the Giants are my 4th surprise, if you will. Out of my 5, they're ranked number 4. The fact that they're 4-0 this preseason and they looked so bad. But Mike Lupica had a great quote saying, "At least about this, there's no question. If the Giants are allowed to play against the other second team or third team defense with their own second team offense, they will be the favorites to win the Super Bowl." So think about this: if the backups played, the Giants would be fantastic. But I'm going to piggyback right off you because right now they're ranked my 4th surprise. In fact, they're 4-0 and they're starting to look so bad. So I'm right there with you at them being a surprise.
Yeah, they've been kind of. I'm very disappointed in their play so far. But the two things I can say is Ryan Nassib played his butt off, and Rashad Jennings is going to be a starter for the Giants, which is not something that I thought was a realistic shot. For my next surprise, it might not be a surprise to many, but I was surprised that Blake Bortles had as good as a preseason as he did.
Yeah.
Look, this team it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. You don't know what you're gonna you know what you're gonna get. They aren't a good team, and they had the third pick, I believe, the 3rd pick in the draft, and they picked Blake Bortles. They could have had as many guys they wanted. They shied away from Johnny Manziel. They shied away from a bunch of quarterbacks, and they picked Blake Bortles, which was kind of a surprise to me and you. I remember I was in the same room as you winning the NFL draft, and we were both surprised that they went with Bortles. But the guy has the size, and they're starting to have articles written about this guy that he is going to be, has all the signs to be their next franchise quarterback. And I think it's just a surprise that from what it looks like, the Jaguars actually did something right and got a guy that might be there for years to come. So that's going to be my 4th surprise is that Blake Bortles is as good as advertised.
Yeah, he has played really good, and I don't think the plan for them to redshirt him this season is going to pan out at all because he's outplayed Chad Henne, and he played exceptionally well throughout the preseason. I think Jacksonville, they're going to improve this year from last year. I think that last year you saw them play really well at the tail end of the season, and I think Toby Gerhart, is going to be good at running back for them, given the chance to play starter snaps. And I'm with you. I don't have him on my list, but I agree with you that he's impressed me, and I think he's earned himself at least the discussion to be the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so my third surprise, I'm sticking with the quarterback, but I'm going to the other conference. I'm going to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm surprised with how well the Minnesota Vikings, both quarterbacks, Matt Castle and Teddy Bridgewater, are playing. I mean, Matt Castle has played really well when he was going to be under fire. Teddy Bridgewater was supposed to be the most NFL-ready quarterback out of the draft. He was picked last in the first round, but Matt Castle this preseason has thrown for 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, has thrown for over 350 yards, has played pretty well and has had good control of the offense. Teddy Bridgewater, on the other hand, has thrown for 4 touchdowns, about 250 yards, and no interceptions for him. They both played exceptionally well, and I'm really curious to see how well the Vikings are going to play, because I think quarterback might have been their weakest point. But with both these quarterbacks playing well now, granted it's the preseason, I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the regular season now with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that I was worried about how Teddy Bridgewater's game was going to kind of transition into the NFL set. Almost kind of like how I was worried about Johnny Manziel, because they're skinnier people. I mean, they're skinnier quarterbacks, rely on their feet a lot. And when the Minnesota Vikings took him, I kind of was like, that's actually a good spot for him. Not too much pressure for him right away. And yeah, like I agree with you. That's definitely a surprise that how he's been able to handle it and how good he's played so far. So yeah, I definitely agree that that Teddy Bridgewater has done well for the Vikings.
Yeah, and how bad does Christian Ponder feel right now? I mean,
oh man,
how bad does he feel? But he's got one thing going for him. He's married to Samantha Ponder, so things are okay for him.
Yeah, things are going great for him as he can be flipping burgers anywhere, and he is still doing better than any of us. So
yeah, he's doing okay on that front.
He's doing just okay. Yeah, he's doing just fine. I might use, since I used the 2 Giants and I used Blake Bortles. All right, this is my second surprise, my second biggest surprise, or just my second surprise, because I don't even know if this is as big, but probably the biggest one that I have is Zach Mettenberger of the Tennessee Titans. This dude, going into the draft, very few people talking about him. He's an LSU guy. He gets drafted by the Titans. Made no splash on ESPN on anything. He was on Gruden's camp, which is the only time I saw him was when he was on Gruden's camp. But he obviously went to a school that knows how to win in LSU. He goes to the Titans, and he has 504 passing yards in the preseason, and no one's really talking about him.
Yeah.
And if I'm Jake Locker, I'm a little worried right now because this guy has shown so much promise, and the Titans kind of have the talent to be successful, and they have this guy throwing dimes right away coming out of college. So I think Zach Mettenberger has been a fantastic get for the Titans.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, Jake Locker has not had a proven healthy track record. So you got to wonder if Mettenberger gets the opportunity, what's going to happen there. But I agree with you. He has impressed me quite a bit in the preseason. And, I mean, you're right. Nobody's talking about him. I don't think many people are talking about him now, frankly.
Yeah.
All right, I mean, yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but segue into my second surprise. I'm with you on the Tennessee Titans, but I'm going to the wide receiver spot. I'm going to Justin Hunter. I've been really impressed with what I've seen for him so far in the preseason. He's climbing up the depth chart for the Tennessee Titans. And I think last year he only had 18 receptions, but 4 of them were for touchdowns. He only played 36% of the team snaps. But so far this preseason, he already has 10 targets. He's caught 2 touchdowns, and I think he's going to be the number 1 or number 2 receiver for the Tennessee Titans, and maybe he'll be catching passes from Zach Mettenberger at some point this season.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This Titan team can be dangerous. They have kind of the right type of players to be successful. Now it's kind of just putting all those pieces together, because they've been a team that's been bad for a while, but they've showed promise. Starting into last year, they've showed promise, and they're trying to kind of get away from the Chris Johnson years. And they're just trying to build, and they kind of they're starting to have the right pieces to be deadly. So if I'm a team and the Titans are on my schedule, it's not like the old Titans anymore where you're going to run over them. They're going to be a team that you really need to pay attention to, because like I said, especially if Mettenberger is going to be their quarterback, I don't trust Jake Locker at all. They're going to be a team that's going to be tough.
Yeah, and you got to remember they're under new head coach Ken Wisenhunt as well, and he likes to throw the ball. He's not a running head coach. He likes to throw the ball. I believe Philip Rivers threw the ball quite a bit last year for San Diego, and when Wisenhunt was with the Cardinals, you didn't know who was their running back every week, but you knew that Larry Fitzgerald was going to get a lot of throws. So I think it's going to be a new look offense for the Titans, and I think their wide receivers and whoever's at quarterback is going to need to learn to throw the ball a lot more and be a lot more effective.
I had the Giants as my biggest surprise, but I'll give you one more because the Giants have been so bad that I was not ready for it. I wasn't ready for Eli Manning to look as lost and the line to look as lost. So the Giants were my big surprise, but I'll give you probably one surprise that no one would ever saw coming was Peyton Manning got hit with a taunting penalty. I think that is a huge surprise because this guy who always does the right thing and always, nice, calm, cool, and collected, he gets into DJ Swearinger's face, the guy who hit your former boy Wes Welker, giving him another concussion, and we know Wes Welker's kind of concussion history, so anytime this guy kind of gets hit hard, you always wonder, and he did get diagnosed with another concussion, so we have to kind of look for that going into the regular season, but after Peyton Manning threw a touchdown pass to Emmanuel Sanders, Peyton runs all the way up, and people think he's going to go congratulate his new teammate Emmanuel Sanders. He goes right into DJ Swearinger's face and has some words for him, and he gets hit with a taunting penalty. So I don't know about you, Stanko, but that is something that, for me, that was really surprising, and that I like to see that in Peyton for sticking up for his guys, because it's like, you know what? I might be Peyton Manning, but you don't do that to my players. It's like he's sticking up for his receivers, and that's the difference. You want to see that type of leadership in your guys. So I don't know about you, but I like the fact that Peyton got into this guy's face.
Yeah, I loved it. When I saw the clip, I was like, this is the Peyton Manning that I think nobody really gets to see that often, but I think that's the Peyton Manning that he really is. He's super competitive and super protective of his guys, but he shows it in a different way. He shows it by driving 80 yards and scoring on you within 2 minutes if you diss one of his players. But I loved it. I'm completely with you. I never thought I'd see it. I want to know if he's had another one ever in his career. Like I don't know if he has or not, but it was fun to watch just the replay because I didn't see it live, but fun to watch people writing articles about it on Bleacher Report or whatever, and the clip. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was like you said, you might never see that again. It wasn't seen, and you may never see that again. That's why, for me, that has to be my biggest surprise of the preseason.
But would he do that in a regular season game when the yards mattered?
That's a good question. That's a good question. But also, not to prolong this at all, but I was reading that the Broncos and the Texans shared a field for practice, and J.J. Watt and a defensive lineman from the Broncos got into it in practice, and DJ Swearinger was in the middle of it. And I think this might stem from them practicing together and then having that previous altercation. So this might be more than what we saw on the field. Yes, he hit Wes Welker, and that was probably 95% of why he went up to him. But it might be because also that he saw this guy, DJ Swearinger, at practice when they were practicing together, kind of almost doing the same type of stuff, getting in your face and everything. I think I read that DJ Swearinger might have made an interception on Peyton, and Peyton didn't like how Swearinger was coming off. He might have hurt him a little too much. So I think there might be more to this story than what we saw on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, that's a great point. I didn't know that about them sharing a practice field, so I bet you that it does stem a little bit from that. But my number one surprise, it's not a player, it's not a team, it's the people who wear the black and white, the zebras, the officials. My number one surprise is how many penalties have been thrown, to put it plainly, how big the points and emphasis have been in terms of the defensive backs and cornerbacks trying to guard wide receivers. So many illegal contacts, so many pass interference, so many holdings that it's a problem for me watching a game. Now, granted, the preseason week 3, the penalties did go down, but they're still more than average. In the preseason, they're averaging roughly 24 penalties a game, and they only averaged 12 in the regular season last year. And I think it's a huge problem because you remember when the Patriots beat up on the Colts wide receivers back when Peyton Manning was with the Colts, they established these penalties where the defensive back can't hold on to receivers, and they made it easier for wide receivers. You saw the Seattle Seahawks last year beat up any wide receiving core they went against. And again, the NFL is like, oh, we'll make it easier for the receivers. And my biggest surprise is just how easy it is to get a defense penalty call on you now. If you have any contact after 5 yards, it's an automatic first down. And I think it needs to change. I really hope the officials let up come the regular season, because that for me is the biggest surprise. And if the trend continues, I'm actually worried about the NFL, because guess what? People like seeing points. People also like seeing hard hits. And how many rules are you going to put in place where you're going to eliminate the physical aspect of football?
Because I agree with you, Stanko. There was way too many penalty calls in my opinion last year, and they're only getting worse. And the problem is that it's not. I'm not even blaming the officials, because by rule that's a penalty, and they're just kind of, because if they don't call that penalty, then in their meetings they're gonna get in trouble for not stressing the rule. So it's not necessarily, oh, these guys keep calling penalties, but that's just how it's getting officiated now, and that's the rules coming from above, how they want this game to be officiated. So they kind of gotta be lenient a little bit. The one thing that is tough is that they're trying to eliminate the gray area. Like, if this happens, it's a penalty immediately. So it could be the slightest touch of the hand, and it could be an illegal contact. So they want to eliminate, well, you're not going to call this in this situation. They want to get rid of that. And the problem is you can't get rid of that. You need to kind of know where the game is. And something that you might call in the first quarter, unfortunately, you might not call in the fourth quarter. And the NFL doesn't like that, but I think that's the problem. They're trying to eliminate any gray area there is, so there's no controversy. But if anything, it's creating more controversy because there's been so many penalties called.
Yeah, and none of the coaches are in favor of it from what I've heard. Kyle Coughlin has expressed his annoyance easily. He's put it plainly. Obviously, Pete Carroll doesn't like it because he breeds physical defensive backs. And he's got Richard Sherman, the most physical of them all. So I'm curious to see where it goes forward. I think it will die down. I think maybe the first couple weeks of the regular season you're going to see a lot of penalties, but I think eventually it's going to dwindle down. Just as the players get more used to it and as people start forgetting about it more, eventually the officials will find a comfort zone with it. But I really hope it doesn't affect the NFL, and I really hope it doesn't affect the pace of play if the referees have to meet up at every other play for a penalty. Baseball has that problem with pace of play. Don't let the NFL have that problem as well.
Yeah, because then you're watching it, and then you're going to get angry more than you're going to enjoy it, and then that's when there's going to become a problem, because the NFL has become so popular the past 10 years that the last thing they want to do is kind of like stop their momentum. And this could be something that could be an issue because it's only getting worse. So it's almost like, how far is this going to go? And I think that's why fans are starting to get worried, like you and me right now, because we're starting to see even more flags in the preseason, which is just going to carry over into the regular season. So we'll see how it transitions. Maybe they don't call as much in the regular season, which is something that I'm hoping for. But, they are all for the safety of the players, but maybe they're doing a little too much micromanaging for a fan standpoint and honestly for the player standpoint, because the players aren't liking it either.
No, they hate it. Unless you're a quarterback who missed an open receiver, but there's a penalty, so it's an automatic first down. Then they might like it.
Right, of course, and that's something that I've argued when comparing a quarterback, 10, 15 years ago to a quarterback now. It's so hard to kind of compare them because Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, even Peyton Manning a little bit. They've gotten their drives kind of long because of a bad penalty. A hit to the head, a illegal contact with the wide receiver. So because of these penalties, it's kind of padding stats sometimes for these quarterbacks that the Terry Bradshaws of the world, even like Dan Marino didn't have it, or Steve Young, they didn't have those types of calls. So that's one thing that I kind of argue. It's hard to argue over a quarterback 10, 15 years ago to quarterbacks now, because just the way the game's officiated, it's kind of leaning towards it's benefiting the quarterback more than it's hurting him.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Mike, is there anything else you want to touch on for our first ever Strictly Business podcast before we hang it up?
I honestly think we've covered it all. I mean, I think this has been a successful first show. I don't know how you feel.
I do feel there's one thing I want to say. I want to say best wishes to Sam Bradford. A second torn ACL on the same knee, I believe, that he had the first surgery on. I genuinely feel bad for him because I think the kid has talent. But he's out now for his second year in the Rams, and Jeff Fisher are put in a tough spot for the second straight season. So I want to say I feel bad for him because I think I had the Rams doing pretty well this season, but they're going to take a hit now losing Sam Bradford, and I wish him all the best in his recovery.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's well said. That is well said, John. Yeah, because the Rams, they have a very solid defense, and they have Sam Bradford. When healthy, he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but unfortunately, he just can't stay on the field. So it's kind of, without him on the field, their offense just deteriorates because they rely on this guy, and with him out even longer, who knows how he's going to come back now after a second torn ACL. So it's going to be rough for him, and we wish him all the best.
Yeah, so hopefully his surgery goes well, and he'll be back on the field sooner rather than later. But I want to thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the first ever Strictly Business podcast. I'm John Stanko, Mike Ritz on the other end of the line. Be sure to tune in next week where we're going to definitely tackle some more NFL. It's going to be prediction time, predicting the divisions and some award winners and what we see in the season coming ahead. So, Mike, I think it went pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it.
Oh, yeah. I think this is the start of something special here, Johnny.
It's the start of something special. And if you have any suggestions or topics of conversation you want us to cover, feel free. We're going to be creating a Facebook page and a YouTube page. We're going to advertise our Twitter handles. And listeners, if you have our phone numbers, feel free to text us or call us for any suggestions. We are always welcome to that. So I want to thank you, everyone, for listening. For Mike Ritz and John Stanko, tune in next week to Strictly Business. Well done, Mike Ritz. Well done.
That's how it's done. John. It's like riding a bike.
It's like riding a bike. Well done. We went an hour and a half. Solid.
Yeah, that was good. That was solid.
That was very solid.
And it was good because, it's good that we knew what was next, too. Like, I feel like it flowed good. It was like, okay, we're done with this, we go to this. We're done with this, we go to this. It was good.
Yeah, no, we got to do that every week. At least have a general outline of what we're going to do. But well done on the Ritz's Ramble. That was very, very good. So well done.
Yeah, because I was thinking of it. So I was thinking of not doing it because I was like, how do I turn this that I'm not supporting Michael Vick? Because I don't. I'm just saying that I'm tired of just hearing all these people just judging him now. It's like, what are you judging him now? Like, what's the point now? It's so many years ago.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and it was a very, very valid point.
Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, Word, if you need me to do anything, let me know on my end. Yeah, and then I just send it to. If you want to send anything to me, so listen to it first, or just send it to me and I'll post it up on Facebook. You can do that too.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off the phone, call the missus, and then I'm gonna get to editing a little bit. So I'll send you anything my way if I finish anything up tonight. If not, you'll get some tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I was gonna say, don't kill yourself. It doesn't have to be done tonight. If you're tired, you can go to bed, and then whenever you get around to it, you get around to it.
Yeah. So it'll be done sooner rather than later, though.
All right. Sounds good, Johnny.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good night.
All right. No problem. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Nice job.
Yep. Nice job. You too, man. Peace.
All right.